There exists a moment, a single breath, when you stop asking the world for permission to exist. Nietzsche called it the birth of the Uber Mensch. I call it the day you stop dying 1,000 small deaths. Friedrich Nietzsche once wrote that man is something to be surpassed. But what did he mean? He wasn't speaking of physical evolution. He was speaking of psychological metamorphosis, the transformation from slave to master, from follower to creator of values. You see, most people live their entire lives as slaves, not to chains or masters, but to the opinions of others, to the invisible tribunal that judges their every move. They seek validation like beggars seek coins, always waiting, always hoping, always diminishing. But the Übermensch, he creates his own values, he becomes his own judge, he declares himself worthy.
The theater of perception.
Here's what Nietzsche understood that modern psychology confirms. Reality is interpretation. Your life is not what happens to you. It's what you decide it means. When you walk into a room, people don't see your resume. They don't read your thoughts. They don't measure your actual capabilities. They see your energy, your posture, your certainty or lack thereof, and they make instant decisions, leader or follower, predator or prey, someone worth knowing or someone to ignore. This isn't shallow, it's primal. It's how humans have survived for millennia. We follow strength. We submit to certainty. We fear what appears dangerous.
The will to power in action.
Nietzsche's will to power isn't about dominating others. It's about dominating yourself, your fears, your doubts, your need for external approval. When you master these internal forces, something extraordinary happens. You begin to move differently. Your spine straightens. Your voice deepens. Your eyes stop seeking permission. This isn't performance. This is transformation. You're not pretending to be powerful. You're becoming power itself. The Übermensch doesn't wait for the world to recognize his worth. He declares it through every gesture, every word, every moment of unshakable self-belief.
The psychology of assumption.
Here's the secret that changes everything. Your assumptions become your reality. If you assume you're beneath others, you unconsciously signal submission. Your body language screams, "Ignore me." Your voice apologizes for existing. But if you assume you're extraordinary, if you assume you belong at the top, if you assume others should listen when you speak, your entire being begins to radiate that truth. And the world responds, not because it knows your story, but because it feels your certainty. This is what Nietzsche meant by self-creation. You don't discover who you are. You decide who you are. Then you become that person through sheer force of will. The transformation begins with a single decision: to stop shrinking, to stop apologizing, to stop waiting for permission. When you enter a room, you don't scan for approval. You assume you belong there, more than belong. You assume the room is better because you're in it. When you speak, you don't hedge your words. You don't soften your opinions. You speak as if your thoughts have weight, because they do. When someone challenges you, you don't crumble. You don't defend. You simply exist in your truth, unshakable, unmovable, undeniable.
The Übermensch emerges.
This is what Nietzsche envisioned. Not a superman in a cape, but a human who has transcended the need for others' approval. Someone who creates their own meaning, their own values, their own sense of worth. The Übermensch doesn't compete with others. He competes only with who he was yesterday. He doesn't seek to be better than everyone. He seeks to become the fullest expression of himself. And in that becoming, he naturally rises above the crowd, not through arrogance, but through authentic power. Most people live as prisoners of their own making. They build cages from others' expectations, lock themselves behind bars of social approval, then wonder why they feel suffocated. But the Übermensch breaks these chains, not through rebellion, through transcendence. He stops caring what the weak think. He stops measuring himself against the mediocre. He creates his own standards, his own definitions of success, his own meaning. When you reach this level of psychological freedom, something magical happens. You stop competing with others. You start competing with infinity, with your own unlimited potential. Here's what happens when you embody this philosophy, when you truly become your own source of validation. People sense it immediately, not because you tell them, but because you no longer need them. Paradoxically, this independence makes you magnetic. When you stop chasing approval, approval starts chasing you. When you stop needing recognition, recognition finds you. When you stop begging for respect, respect becomes inevitable. This isn't manipulation. This is the natural law of human psychology. We are drawn to that which doesn't need us. We follow those who lead themselves. Transformation isn't a destination. It's a daily practice, a constant choosing, a relentless becoming. Every morning you wake up with a choice. Will you shrink today, or will you expand? Will you seek permission, or will you grant it to yourself? Will you wait for the world to validate you, or will you validate yourself? This is the path of the Uber Mensch. Not a single moment of enlightenment, but 1,000 moments of choosing courage over comfort, choosing growth over safety, choosing authenticity over acceptance. Each choice compounds. Each decision strengthens your will. Each act of self-determination builds the muscle of inner power, until one day you realize you've become unrecognizable, not to others, but to your former self. The world is waiting for you to declare yourself, not with words, but with your very existence. Every room you enter, every conversation you have, every challenge you face, these are opportunities to embody your highest self, to live as if you already are who you wish to become. Nietzsche wrote, "Become who you are." But I tell you this, you are who you choose to become. Right now, in this moment, with this breath. The transformation begins when you stop asking, "Am I worthy? Am I ready? Am I enough?" And start declaring, "I am. I choose. I become." The Übermensch doesn't emerge from perfect conditions. He creates perfect conditions through perfect will. So rise, not because the world expects it, but because your soul demands it. Rise not to prove anything to anyone, but to honor the infinite potential that lives within you. The age of apologizing for your existence is over. The age of your becoming has begun. Step into it. Claim it. Become it. The world is waiting for the person you're brave enough to be.
Thanks for watching.